Hi, I'm Molly, a junior at Dollar Bay High School and a third-year member of SOAR.
Hi, I'm Maggie, a sophomore at Dollar Bay High School and a second-year member of the SOAR team.
SOAR is a student-led high school enterprise team that specializes in ROVs, remotely operated vehicles.
By being student-led, we depend upon student leadership to prevail to collaborate on projects.
Founded in 2010, SOAR allows students to acquire skills in areas such as coding, design, wiring, additive and subtractive manufacturing, and troubleshooting.
SOAR is an elective in which students choose to enroll.
Each day, we challenge ourselves with student learning. There is often no correct answer, and failure, which happens often and in front of peers.
In doing so, we rise to meet team goals and learn through our mistakes to benefit our local watershed.
So our two main ROVs have been in service for about 6 years now and are at the end of their service life. Over the past 6 years, we've fixed some when they were damaged, but it's come to the point now where they need to be replaced. While discussing what changes we want to make to better improve the new ROVs, we wondered if instead of using PVC tubes to create the body of the ROV, we instead 3D printed the tubes. We figured if it was doable, it would be much more customizable to meet the needs of the ROV. This brought us to our question of, can we 3D print watertight objects? We first searched online to see if anyone else had successfully 3D printed watertight objects. Watertight is different from waterproof, in which it can't allow water to enter or escape under many pounds of pressure. The only research we could find was someone that printed more of a waterproof object by increasing the extrusion multiplier in the 3D printer settings. This got us to wonder if there were any other printer settings we could experiment with to fit our needs of watertight instead of waterproof. So our first change was the extrusion multiplier. This is also known as the flow rate. It describes how much material is being forced out of the nozzle. By increasing this, the material oozes out and spreads out more, adhering it to the other layers more effectively and creating smaller gaps between the layers. We also increased our wall thickness. By doing that, it creates a thicker shell on the outside wall of the object. When printing, we used a 0.5 millimeter nozzle and told the software we are using a 0.45 millimeter nozzle. This would cause a slight overlay of horizontal layers of plastic. We printed all of our objects in PETG filament. We chose PETG because it's strong and durable and pretty easy to work with compared to other filaments. PETG has a printing temperature range from 230 to 245 degrees Celsius. We print most of our objects at 230 degrees Celsius, but we made a change and increased the temperature to 245 degrees Celsius in order to try and help the horizontal and vertical layers fuse together better to reduce the likelihood of water migrating between the layers. Our first design was a cylinder that had a smooth, flat end on both sides. To secure the ends, we used 2 plexiglass plates with an O-ring groove. We secured them to each other with 5 bolts and nuts. Our next design was a 3D printed cylinder with the bottom fully 3D printed and the top side had a plexiglass plate which was secured with 5 bolts and nuts. We then tried a flange on both ends, closed with 2 plexiglass plates. This was also secured with 5 bolts and nuts. Our final design was a flange that flared out with a plexiglass plate on each end. The plates were secured with 5 nuts and bolts separate from each other, so 10 nuts and bolts altogether, instead of running a bolt all the way across the tube. We also tested a PVC tube with a plexiglass plate on each end secured with 5 nuts and bolts as a control to confirm the O-ring design was watertight.
Going into this project, we knew we had to put the objects under more pressure than they would get from just being submerged in a few feet of water. We already had a pressure tester, but it didn't work very well and it wasn't very practical for how many tests that we needed to run. What was left of the old pressure tester was a big PVC tube with 1 PVC end cap with a pressure gauge and a brass barbed fitting. We ended up connecting the fitting to a water pump with clear tubing. The water pump was powered by a car battery. The problem was we needed something to seal the other end of the tube that could come off so we could put objects into it. Normally when we want things to be watertight, we would use an O-ring. And when you use an O-ring, you need a back plate with an O-ring groove in it, and the O-ring groove has to be super exact, so we had to use the CNC mill. We made G-codes for the O-ring groove, the bolt pattern, and the outside cut. The issue that came up was that our mill was too small to do the outside cut. That meant we had to use a method of indexing. So we made the G-code so it only did about 60% of the outside cut. Then we made the bolt pattern drill all the way through the top plate of the plexiglass and into the bottom plate. We rotated the top plate 180 degrees and lined the holes up with the bottom plate. We also put drill bits into the holes to make sure it was exact as possible. Then we clamped it down, took the bits out, and milled the 60% outside cut again. That left us with the final plate ready to be used. We designed a 3D printed ring that had the same bolt pattern as the plate. That was supposed to secure the plate onto the tube using 6 bolts and nuts. The problem was the clamp and the glue we used to keep the ring onto the PVC tube didn't hold. We looked back at some ROVs and saw that they had glued an end cap on and then cut the end of it off. That left a little PVC ring that kept the 3D printed ring in place. After a while of testing, the PVC end cap broke and flew off in the middle of the test. We think it blew off due to the fact that it probably already had some hairline cracks from dropping the tester a few times. So now we needed to seal the other end with something more effective than an end cap. We decided to make the same back plate that we already used on the other end. After making it, we drilled and tapped 3 tapered holes. 1 hole for the pressure gauge, 1 for the brass barbed fitting, and the last for a valve. We added the valve to make getting air out of the tube faster and easier. When we were screwing in the pressure gauge, we screwed it so far that it created a small crack in the plexiglass. So we drilled a small hole that didn't pass all the way through at the end of the crack, and that distributed the pressure so it doesn't make the crack any bigger. We attached the plate to the tube in the same way we did on the other side. We also attached a valve in between 2 clear tubes that went from the water pump to the tester. That made sure there was no back drainage that went into the water pump because that would have caused damage. Before we tested each tube, we'd write a different letter of the alphabet on it and record the mass of it. We wanted to see how much water got stuck inside the walls of the tube after the test. Then we'd pack the tube with a lot of paper towels in an effort to try to figure out where the leaks came from. We'd put the back plates on and tighten it with nuts and bolts and made sure that it was tightened evenly. Then we'd test it, but before we made the pressure go up, we'd always make sure to get all of the air out since we know air is more dangerous than water pressure. Then we'd let it go up to about 100 psi before stopping it. Having clear backplates was a big advantage because we could look at the tube while it was getting tested. After the test, we tried to see where the water could have came in. After that, we'd record the mass of the tube again and compare.
All the tubes had an increase in mass. When we 3D print the tubes, there can be little gaps created between the layers. This can cause water to seep through the tube. Although we had one tube that was successful and did not leak, the mass still went up. This is because Petri filament is hydrophilic, which means it likes water, and this causes the Petri to bond with the water. Another reason for the increase in mass is because water is pushed into the small voids under such high pressure, but there is not the same pressure to push it back out. Once we got tube K to work, we kept the printer settings the same, except we had to change the design of the tube, because we can no longer use a bolt to go across the length of the tube, since the tubes we need to create for the ROVs would have to be much longer. However, we haven't had a test that has been successful with the new design.
We've tested over half the alphabet in tubes, and we still don't have a good answer to our question. The only tube that didn't fail was the one with smooth and flat ends. The rest either failed because water got through the tube or the O-ring didn't work properly. Basically, our conclusion is we need to do more testing. We haven't gotten enough results to really know the answer to our question. Some recommendations for further testing are to keep changing the shape of the tubes. We still need to figure out if using the flare-out tubes or the flat tubes would be better. We also need to do more tests with the tube design that did work to make sure that it wasn't a fluke.
We have a partnership with Isle Royale National Park, where we make ROVs for them to look on our boats to make sure that there are no invasive species. We also have a partnership with Oculus, where we make custom 3D printed parts for their assembly line. We are also trying to make ROVs that can explore flooded mines with the partnership of Keweenaw National Historic Park, along with Delaware Mine. Through all these projects, we benefit our local watershed by looking for invasive species, along with having an easier and better way for exploration.